Welcome to Trauma Trove, where we deep dive into all things animated and give these characters the therapy they so clearly need. Today, we're trading demon princes for fire royalty. A quick spoiler warning for Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you haven't watched it yet, I'm going to say this with love. Babe, go fix that. I'll be here when you get back. The heartbreak hits better when you've earned it. So, pull up a blanket. We're talking about the infamous deranged Fire Princess. Let's start with this. Azula doesn't grow up in a home. She grows up in a regime. Everything around her, absolutely everything, is about war strategy, political succession, conquest, legacy, and maintaining the royal hierarchy. There are no toys scattered on the floor. No adults kneeling in front of her asking her how she feels. No gentle guidance. Instead, the background noise of her childhood is generals debating invasions, her father and grandfather discussing expansion, tutors drilling her on Fire Nation propaganda, and the unspoken rule that softness gets you hurt. She is not being raised, she's being shaped. This is a world where power equals safety, hierarchy is the law, and loyalty is how you survive. And Azula learns early, painfully early, where everyone stands in that hierarchy. Fire Lord Azula, on top of the pyramid. You don't even breathe wrong around him. Ozai, untouchable. The storm you adapt to or get swallowed by. Ursa, trying, soft, kind, but ultimately powerless compared to the men running the world. And kids pick up on power dynamics faster than adults ever give them credit for. So yes, Ursa tries to show love, but Azula already knows who actually holds the control. And she chooses accordingly. Not because she's evil, but because she's smart. Because she's a child calculating how to survive in a house full of predators. It's also important to note that Azula does not believe her mom loves her.
I don't have sob stories like all of you. I could sit here and complain how our mom liked Zuko more than me, but I don't really care. My own mother thought I was a monster.
She tries to gain her attention the same way she does with her father. Prowess and skill. But it doesn't work. So of course she gravitated more towards Ozai, who showed her favorability.
Would you show Grandfather the new moves you demonstrated to me? She's a true prodigy. Just like her grandfather, for whom she's named.
And then there's Zuko. Poor, dumb, emotional Zuko.
You'll never catch up.
I'd like to demonstrate what I've been learning.
Zuko is sensitive, reactive, open-hearted, and eager to please. And she watches again and again what happens to him when he shows vulnerability. He gets scolded, he gets dismissed, he gets punished, he gets humiliated. Not just by Ozai, but by Azula too. This is not sibling rivalry. This is Azula watching a case study titled, "Here's what happens to a child who dares to be soft in this family." Of course she becomes the opposite. Of course she leans into control, cunning, and composure. Not because she's naturally cruel, but because cruelty is rewarded and compassion is punished. She is learning from actual lived experience that Softness means danger. Emotion is showing weakness. Obedience means survival. And excellence means having protection. Azula isn't just absorbing her environment, she's adapting to it the same way a child adapts to extreme weather. You don't negotiate with the storm, you learn how to move with it without dying. And this is the tragedy most people miss. Zuko's softer because he had the privilege of trying to be human and getting crushed for it. Azula never even had that option. She saw the consequences way too young. Her deranged princess persona didn't pop out of nowhere. It was shaped, rewarded, and reinforced at every level of the war machine she was born into. In a world built on domination, of course the child who survives is the one who becomes sharp. If Azula's world had a slogan, it would be something like, "Congratulations on your achievement. Now do it again, but better."
Almost perfect. One hair out of place.
Almost isn't good enough.
Because in the Fire Nation, especially at the top, love isn't emotional. It's transactional. Not, "I love you." More like, "I'm satisfied with your output." Ozai doesn't treat Azula like a daughter. He treats her like a project with potential. And from the moment she shows talent, real talent, he locks onto her as a child who might actually reflect well on him. So, what does he reward? Ruthlessness, precision, obedience, cunning, emotional suppression, ambition. He praises her not for who she is, but for how useful she can become.
As long as they have hope.
Yes, you're right. We need to destroy their hope.
Well, that's not exactly what
I think you should take their precious hope and the rest of their land and burn it all to the ground.
Yes. Yes, you're right, Azula.
Azula is not basking in love. She is earning proximity. She learns quickly, if I am exceptional, he pays attention. If I hesitate, he looks disappointed. If I mess up, I become disposable. Or Zuko.
Azula.
What?
I've decided to lead the fleet of airships to Ba Sing Se alone. You will remain here in the Fire Nation.
But I thought we were going to do this together.
My decision is final.
You can't treat me like this. You can't treat me like Zuko.
That's not confidence. That's conditional existence. In a nation engineered around conquest, the golden child isn't the sweet, high-achieving honor student. The golden child is the one who won't question orders, won't show fear, won't disobey, and will lead with fire instead of with their conscience. It's not nurturing. This is conditioning. And the Fire Nation has been conditioning its heirs for generations. Fire Lord Azulon did it to Ozai. Ozai does it to Azula. And the cycle stays intact because, well, it works for them. Not for the child, but for the Empire.
Now comes the part where I double-cross you. Dai Li, arrest the Fire Nation princess. I said, arrest her. What is wrong with you?
It's because they haven't made up their minds. They're waiting to see how this is going to end.
What are you talking about?
I can see your whole history in your eyes. You were born with nothing, so you've had to struggle and connive and claw your way to power. But true power, the divine right to rule, is something you're born with. The fact is, they don't know which one of us is going to be sitting on that throne, and which one is going to be bowing down. But I know, and you know. Well...
You've beaten me at my own game.
Don't flatter yourself. You were never even a player.
And here's the part people forget. Azula doesn't start cruel. She starts attuned. She notices everything. She reads people instantly. She spots weaknesses like she was born wearing emotional X-ray glasses. And Ozai loves that. He sees her perceptiveness, her sharpness, her intensity, and instead of guiding it, he cultivates it. He plans her flames, literally and psychologically. So Azula internalizes the most dangerous belief a child in her position can form. Love isn't something you receive, it's something you compete for. She's trying to survive in a system that rewards cruelty and punishes softness. So yeah, she leans in. Because what's the alternative? Be Zuko? She watches what happens to him when he speaks out, when he struggles, when he shows even a hint of disagreement. He gets shamed, humiliated, burned, banished. Azula is paying attention. She learns 2 lessons at once. I'm better than him because I don't show weakness. If I ever do show weakness, I'll be treated exactly like him. She sees Zuko punished for softness, herself praised for her hardness, Ursa silenced and sidelined, the nation worshiping power over peace. And she connects the dots exactly like a gifted child would. Be powerful or be nothing. Be feared or be forgotten. Be perfect or be punished. This isn't her being a prodigy. This is her being a survivor. She's not chasing love. She's chasing safety disguised as approval. And she's really, really good at it. Azula doesn't just learn power from the adults around her. She practices it on the kids around her. Because when you grow up in a house where adults talk about war instead of feelings, your father studies you like you're a promising weapon, and your brother gets emotionally executed every time he shows softness, you don't get normal friendship templates. You get social experiments. Let's start with May. Kid May is the human equivalent of a long sigh. She's quiet, reserved, unimpressed by everything. And Azula knows exactly what to do with kids like that. May doesn't gush over her, doesn't orbit her, doesn't feed into her intensity. So Azula pokes and pushes and provokes. Not because she's evil, but because in her tiny prodigy brain, attention equals connection. Azula has never seen gentle relational reciprocity. She's only ever seen dominance, obedience, reward, punishment. So she tries to connect the only way she's been taught. If I stir a reaction out of you, I matter to you. To May, it's annoying. To Azula, it's proof she exists. Then there's Ty Lee, the hypersocial, sparkly, sensitive kid whom Azula absolutely cannot figure out emotionally, but is deeply fascinated by. Ty Lee is affectionate, expressive, high energy, emotionally loose in a way Azula has never encountered at home. Azula doesn't know what to do with this softness, so she does what she always does. She tries to control it. Let's talk about the moment that tells you everything about tiny Azula's internal world. The cartwheel scene. Azula and Ty Lee are playing together, both doing flips, except Ty Lee lands hers perfectly, gracefully, effortlessly, like the little acrobat prodigy she is. And Azula fails.
Azula!
You can see the instant her brain short circuits. In 1 second flat, her internal script goes, I'm supposed to be the best. I'm supposed to impress. I'm supposed to be followed, not outperformed. And because she cannot tolerate even a millisecond of being less than, she does what kids raised in harsh hierarchies do. She shoves Ty Lee down. Not hard enough to seriously hurt her, but hard enough to reassert the hierarchy. And she laughs. Not because it's actually funny, but because Azula has already learned that dominance equals safety. This moment isn't about cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's about panic covered by performance. Azula's cartwheel wasn't just a trick. It was a test, one she failed. And in the Fire Nation, failing means shame, danger, punishment, becoming Zuko. So she flips the script the only way she knows how. If I can't be above you because I'm perfect, I'll be above you because I can push you down. It's miniature emotional warfare from a child who has never been taught any other way to relate. And here's the tragedy under the smug little laugh. Azula is lonely. Kid Azula doesn't know how to ask for play, ask for closeness, ask for someone to stay. She only knows how to assert. So, her friendships become tests, trials, loyalty checks, tiny rehearsals for power dynamics. Not because she's destined to be a tyrant, but because she has no model for what a healthy connection looks like. Where Zuko reaches outward and gets hurt, Azula reaches downward and gets rewarded. That's her blueprint. That means even her friendships are not safe places. They are arenas, little laboratories where she practices being what the adults in her world have taught her. Precise, superior, untouchable, impressive, but never vulnerable. Because vulnerability is Zuko's lane, and Azula wants no part of the suffering she's watched him endure for it. So yes, she plays with May and Ty Lee, but it's not really play. It's a child trying to mimic human connection using the only tool she has. Dominance, charisma, threat, charm, intensity, performance. And all three girls can feel the imbalance, even if only one of them understands why. And that's the punchline for her early relationships. Azula isn't terrorizing them, she's trying to connect. She just doesn't know how to do it without power. Because in her world, power is connection. Now let's talk about the wound people always misunderstand. Why Azula continues to mistreat Zuko even when Ozai isn't in the room. Because yes, the fandom loves to argue, but she didn't have to be that mean when their father wasn't watching. Except she kind of did. Zuko is her emotional caution tape. Zuko is everything Azula was punished out of being. Emotional, idealistic, soft-hearted, openly reactive, hungry for approval. And she doesn't just see that, she sees what adults do to that. Zuko is proof that softness is a liability. Affection can be weaponized, and vulnerability is dangerous. Azula's cruelty towards him isn't just dominance, it's self-preservation. Because if she stops standing above him, she risks standing next to him. And she has spent her entire childhood watching what happens to whoever stands next to Zuko emotionally. They get shamed, they get dismissed, they get hurt, they get compared, they get punished. Azula has no intention of joining him. On top of that, mistreating Zuko signals loyalty to power. Kids in unsafe homes learn very quickly. Adults treat me based on which side I appear to be on. If she stands with Zuko, she risks being grouped with weakness. If she stands against him, she aligns with the powerful. Her behavior towards Zuko is a constant performance of allegiance, not to Ozai personally, but to the structure that keeps her safe. She learns to show adults, I understand the rules, I understand who matters, I understand what earns approval. That's not malice, this is strategy from a child who knows the stakes. And keeping Zuko beneath her protects Azula. Hierarchy is everything in her world. If Zuko rises, Azula falls. If Zuko is pitied, she must be feared. If Zuko is weak, she must be strong. If Zuko hesitates, she must strike.
Leave us alone. I never expected this from you. The thing I don't understand is why. Why would you do it? You know the consequences.
I guess you just don't know people as well as you think you do. You miscalculated. I love Zuko more than I fear you.
No, you miscalculated! You should have feared me more!
The Fire Nation rewards ruthlessness, precision, and unwavering dominance. So Azula's ongoing cruelty towards Zuko is a psychological maneuver. If he stays beneath me, I stay safe. This isn't just about Ozai's approval, though there's plenty of that in it too. This is about survival logic internalized so deeply, it becomes instinct. And with Ursa's disappearance, it wasn't a moment of freedom, it was a warning. People love to say Azula didn't care that her mom vanished. Oh, she cared. She cared a terrifying amount. But Azula is a child raised in a political minefield. She knows people vanish when they challenge power. Questioning authority leads to consequences. Expressing grief is weakness. So when Ursa disappears, Azula knows better than to show sadness. Showing sadness is what Zuko does, and look how that's going for him. Instead, she responds with suspicion, emotional distance, silence, observation. Because her mother disappearing is not just a loss, it's a lesson. The lesson is if you question the system, you get erased. So no, Azula doesn't go looking for comfort. She leans harder into the persona that keeps her alive. That's why she teases Zuko about it. And when Zuko mourns Ursa, Azula wants no part in that. So she again aligns herself with power because she knows who got rid of Ursa. She knows what happened. She's been going around listening for years behind the curtain. Because stepping into that kind of grief risks being compared to him, being dismissed like him, being punished like him, or worse, being seen as aligned with a disobedient, weak, or disloyal child. Azula has spent her entire childhood learning sadness is punished, weakness is punished, love is punished, Zuko is punished. So she doesn't just avoid behaving like Zuko, she avoids feeling like Zuko. Emotionally, that's the part she fears most. So yes, she continues mistreating him, not because she lacks a conscience and not because she's inherently cruel, but because she is trying to survive the only way she knows how, by never, ever being mistaken for the soft child who disappoints their father. If Azula walked into my office, she wouldn't sit on the couch. She'd take the chair with the best vantage point and act like she reserved it. She wouldn't look scared, she wouldn't look shy, she wouldn't look unsure, even as a child. She would look in control. Because that's the thing. Children like Azula don't present as wounded, they present as prepared. She'd scan the room the way adult Azula scans battlefields. Quick, precise, searching for leverage. Not for vulnerability, not for comfort, for advantage. If I asked her a simple question, something like, "What brings you here today?" she wouldn't talk about feelings, she'd talk about performance. She might say something like, "My tutors say I'm difficult. I don't see the issue. I'm better than the other children." Not because she's arrogant, but because that's the language she was raised in. Superiority is safety, compliance is currency, and control is emotional armor. If I gently asked, "Do you ever feel scared?" she wouldn't flinch. She'd tilt her chin up and reply, "No, fear is for the weak, not those in power. That's Zuko's problem." And here's the part that matters. She believed that. Not because fear isn't inside her, but because fear has no place to go in her world. No one has ever shown her how to hold it. No one has ever said, "You're scared and you're still safe." So she learned to smother it before it reached consciousness. And if I watched closely, if I didn't look away during the silence, I'd see it. That split-second flicker beneath the confidence. A tiny tightening in her shoulders. A hint of vigilance in her eyes. Not weakness, awareness. A child who learned very early everything is a test, everyone is an evaluator, and failure has a real consequence. Therapy for Azula wouldn't begin with feelings. It would begin with permission. Permission to not perform. Permission to not win. Permission to not outrank the imaginary audience in her head. Permission to exist without offering value. The truth? She wouldn't trust me right away. Not because she's resistant, but because trust is a luxury she's never seen modeled safely. But if she stayed, and if she came back again, if she let herself settle, even for a moment, we'd eventually get to that tiny buried question she never says out loud. If I stop being exceptional, do I disappear too? But before we get there, I want you to sit with this. If you grew up as the responsible one, the high-achieving one, the golden child who was praised for what you could do instead of who you were, you might see more of yourself in Azula's childhood than you're comfortable admitting. You don't have to forgive her to understand her. But understanding her is what makes her arc land the way it's supposed to. Not as a villain's origin story, but as a tragedy that started long before she ever picked a side. All right, babes, that's all for today's session with young Azula, a child shaped by power long before she ever chose it. If you made it this far, unclench your jaw, roll your shoulders, drink some water. You just sat through a full therapy session for a fictional firebending princess, and honestly, I am proud of you. If you screamed, nodded, winced, or whispered, "Oh God, that's me," at any point during this deep dive, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what moment from Azula's childhood hit you the hardest? And what you want me to zoom in on as we keep unpacking her story. Because yes, she's coming back. Azula is absolutely the kind of client who needs multiple sessions to even begin sorting through what her childhood turned her into. This has been Trauma Trove, where we deep dive into all things animated and give these characters the therapy they so clearly need. Thanks for being here. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey, before you go, just a quick reminder. If you're in Texas and looking for a therapist, you can book with me at embarkhealingtherapy.com. And just so we're clear, Trauma Trove is for reflection, animated chaos, and education, not therapy or personalized advice. If you're struggling or need support, please reach out to a licensed mental health professional or local emergency services.